What up?
Howdy. This is
Bad Yerba.
yeah. So we've been messing around with the settings of the camera, the lighting. We got our makeshift studio and we live, baby. Yeah.
Yes, welcome to the studio.
Here's
Cheers.
to I guess the first episode really.
We're drinking light beer. Don't judge us.
It's hot right now. We're in a shed. There's no two ways about it. We're in a shed. But we got a dream, so we'll try it out.
It's semi-soundproof, you know?
It sounds good. It doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah, I like the way it sounds.
Yeah, I can get behind it.
We gotta work on the lighting a little bit, though.
Yeah, next up is definitely soft lighting.
So, yeah, we need
which we can't afford right now unless you guys buy the merch. So buy the merch.
Well, sick. We'll just get into it, yeah?
Yeah.
So, we were thinking about what we wanted to talk about today. And when he came over, we were sitting down in my room, and he notices my book on my nightstand, and it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And Chris decided to well, he made a comment about it. Basically, he said, "Man, doesn't it seem like, you know, a little evil?"
Yeah.
You know, basically, right?
Essentially, the comment I was making was more or less, what do you gain from the power of influencing? We decided on influencing because we started looking into it, and I feel like the word influencing is so vague. It's a very difficult word to make tangible.
It can easily have like a negative connotation to it.
Right. So let's talk about influencing.
Like what kind of person influences another person?
Well, how about we start simple? What's the definition of influencing?
Influencing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like personal or an actual dictionary?
No, the actual definition.
Oh, I don't know the actual definition. I gave you my opinion.
So influence, the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself.
Okay.
So that's textbook definition influence. When you hear influence, what do you think of?
Well, the word itself. Influencing, I mean.
I'd hope.
I mean, there's influencing, and then what you're thinking is probably manipulation.
Right.
And I think there's both. There is both. Just, I don't see it as manipulating people.
Well, one thing that you had said yesterday was you see it as it's a tool, right? You can be used in any way that you decide for it to be used. And a good example of using influence correctly or incorrectly, again, in the eye of the beholder, would be the Prophet Muhammad, right? Starting with religion, obviously he had a huge part of influence in creating the religion.
Wow, that was out of left field.
No.
Religion?
but it's influence. It's influence because this one man.
Yeah, that's one information. Yeah, okay.
Influenced all these people to, live their life this particular way. On the other side of the coin, influence can also go very wrong for certain people. The Holocaust with Adolf Hitler, he had a lot of influence in his position, and there was a lot of things that happened, a lot of terrible things that happened because he had the influence and he had the power. So it's like you said. Influence is a tool, and it can be used whichever way you see fit.
Yeah, I mean, you can influence, like, as a worker, you can influence your boss to give you a raise.
Yes.
I mean, that's how I see it. Someone could say, "Oh, you're manipulating your boss into giving you a raise."
No, but I mean, I think they go hand in hand for the most part.
Yeah.
Well, not hand in hand, but see, that's what I was trying to say. It's just like understanding the concept of influence is pretty simple. But trying to give a tangible explanation is a little more complicated.
So when you were looking at the book,
mm-hmm.
What kind of mindset did you go into it? What kind of mindset did you have when you went into the book, when you started skimming over it and reading the rules about it?
Well, for me, when I hear influence, I always think of, corporate bigwigs, right? Like, I think of people that have a high position of power or they have a lot of wealth. Well, power and wealth. That's what I interpreted influence as, for the most part. Mm-hmm. But reading the book, it's showing, and the book's awesome. If you guys can check it out, it's by Dale Carnegie, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dale Carnegie, fantastic.
Dude, this book is old as fuck.
Yeah, from the 80s, isn't it?
And it still has power today.
It's relevant. It's still relevant, because I mean...
Yes, it's super relevant. There's so many... It's telling you it's a tool. Hammer is probably never going to go out of style.
Right.
That's another tool. This book is a tool. This thing is 100%. Never getting out of style. Until... we all die in a nuclear war.
It's coming soon. I'm just saying.
I was telling them I feel like we're being in this shed makes me feel like a conspiracy theorist.
Look into chemtrails. No, but
flat Earth.
Don't get fooled. It's real. The power of influence, I don't know. It's really cool to try to get down, but it's also really hard to master. I feel when I was reading the book, there were a lot of different examples of how you can use it for your benefit. And one thing that really struck out to me was my mindset when I asked Iz about what do you gain from this, right? What do you gain from influencing people? Is it a selfish act? That was my main point. I was just saying it's a selfish act because you're getting what you want in the end, right? Okay. But one thing that literally was like it was tailored for me, that this guy paid a compliment to some dude that worked in the author, Dale Carnegie, paid a compliment to a worker in the post office. Okay. And it's, I think what...
commented about their hair?
Yes, yeah. Chapter 6.
I forgot the chapter, but I know the example.
Yeah, so he gives him the compliment and says, hey, I really like the way your hair looks, and that the guy visibly got a little perkier, he got a little happier, and he was just like more lively. And the way the author explained it was, I feel like maybe he went home to his wife and maybe he told her about that. It made him feel good. Maybe he walked around with a little more pep in his step. And he's talking about this in a seminar. But there's this one guy that pops up and he says, well, what do you gain from this? Why would you tell him that? What do you benefit from this, essentially? Mm-hmm. And he said, well, I'm not trying to benefit anything. If we're so enveloped in our wants over the simple things of trying to make someone's day better, then why would you even bother? There was no malice to his compliment, and the influence is just to try to make them feel better about themselves, which, again, in connotations, you can use it positively, 100%. The same way that you can use it negatively. But influence, the word, is so vague, it's so difficult to try to pinpoint concrete examples because there's so many things that could be chalked up to influence.
Yeah. I like that part. I like that you enjoyed that part because people, it has to be sincere. If you're going to compliment someone, it should be sincere compliment. You can't be fucking sociopath.
No.
And give fucking compliments like nothing.
Right.
It has to come, if you honestly think their hair is cool, say their hair is cool,
Yeah.
That's...
There's not always a reward.
From that example, that dude that said, "What do you get from it?" That fool was coming with a different mindset. He's trying to use it. He's trying to use influence, the tool influence, in a more darker way. He's trying to get something out of people, right?
Which is the way I was thinking initially.
And by asking that question, it kind of came out of, what kind of mindset he's coming from. As in, he wants to manipulate people.
Right. Which you have the power to.
And Dale Carnegie shut that down quickly. Mm-hmm. He said, no, hold on. I'm not saying I'm trying to get something out of him. I'm just saying it's just, it makes you feel better, and it makes another person feel better. You want to, like how he says, you want to plant seeds everywhere you go in life, because who knows, when you come back to it, it might blossom into something nice. You might not ever see that, like that guy, that postman guy. Yeah. You may never see him again, but maybe one day he'll grab a piece of mail from that belongs to you and be like, hey, I remember this dude. Make sure this package gets to them nicely or whatever, right?
And I think it's good to be sincere and to be honest, but I also believe that if you have the capacity to influence a certain group of people, would you
it depends on what you want to do, man.
Right. Yeah, whatever your motives are. Yeah. And that's what's super interesting about it, where you can turn it into whatever you want, depending on the way that you go about it. So if you go into it with good intentions, chances are you'll get good results. Or if you go into it with intentions that will benefit you, depending on how you play the field, you might be able to get those results as well.
True. Yeah.
It's like you're saying, they're reiterating their tools. Influencing is a tool. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good segue into what I wanted to talk about next. I feel like influencing has become 300% easier currently in this day and age.
Definitely, like internet-wise, mm-hmm. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Yeah. It's so easy to get your opinion out. It's so easy to get a following going.
Yeah.
cults.
Fucking, we'll get back to that.
There's a dude that came up on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
I forgot his name, but he wrote a whole book called How to Start a Cult, and it's all based around Twitter and his tactics he uses to create a following. And I don't know. I think it's weird to outright say, oh, you know, people want followings, they want to create a cult.
No.
Maybe this is bringing out something out of us. Like,
how do you mean?
I don't want. I'm sure you judge me. I mean, maybe. How would I say it? When you saw me owning this book, you probably thought of me a little differently. It's I'm not something against you, right?
Right.
It's just instinctual, you know. When some new information comes up from someone, you kind of they get molded a little different. You're like, oh,
yeah, I
right. So, I forgot where I was going with this. Honestly,
swing and a miss.
A swing and a miss. But all I'm trying to say is that you just can't be fooled into thinking that someone wants to get something out of you all the time.
Right.
You know, you gotta let your guard down sometimes and accept people for who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard because I mean, if you do get trapped, if you do fall for the trap of manipulation, it's kind of hard to get out of it.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so difficult to understand what the word is one thing.
Yeah.
But to see it tangibly, it's a little more difficult. It's a very, very thin line.
Well, let's talk about it this way. Do you ever feel like you've been manipulated?
Personally?
Yeah, this is a personal, your own experience.
I mean, I'd be lying if I said no, obviously.
It's hard to tell when you're being manipulated.
Yeah, because the art of manipulation is you're supposed to... Yeah, exactly.
It's subtle as fuck.
It's essentially telling someone what to do without talking to them at all.
Yeah.
It's a very rare art form, I feel like, because it's so precise.
Yeah, after reading the book, I can see how you can manipulate someone.
Right.
Like, one of the main rules about trying to win someone over to your way of thinking is to dangle... What's the metaphor where you dangle something in front of them and shit to lead them a certain way?
We couldn't figure it out last night. I don't remember. Last night was blitzed.
But the thing is, you're supposed to arouse an eager want from someone, you know. And how to do that, you know, you got to actively listen, you know, let the other person do the most of the talking, you know, ask them. This is kind of like the fucked up way of thinking about it. If you want to manipulate someone, you want to talk to them, actively listen, and we'll try to understand what they want in life. You know, if we talked, I didn't know you, we talked, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm trying to be a police officer,
right, and
stuff like that. Just with that key information, I'd be like, okay, this dude wants to be a police officer. How can I use that to my advantage? What would I want? Well, say I'm a drug dealer, and you don't know that. My best option is to become friends with you.
Yeah. Is it though? Would you want to be friends with a cop if you're a drug dealer? If you're gonna do that, you're a very bad drug dealer.
Well, you're not a police officer yet,
right?
But you want to become a police officer.
Uh-huh.
Let's do that scenario. What would I do? I mean, I would try to make you my friend. You know, I tried to, you know, how do cops become crooked? They have to know a drug dealer, right? Or are they naturally fucked up going into becoming a police officer?
I think that has to do with the power that they feel more than anything.
As soon as they go into the position, they realize they have enough power to manipulate others.
The Stanford prison experiment is a perfect example of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like exactly the perfect example for...
Maybe that was a fucked up...
analogy?
No, just a fucked up example.
That's what I'm saying. We obviously don't endorse becoming a drug dealer, but hypothetically...
If you want to become a drug dealer, don't follow our instructions.
Don't be friends with cops.
Don't listen to us on that part. But it's hard to figure out when you're being manipulated.
Yeah, I agree.
It's hard. I mean, let's make something simpler. Relationships.
Sure.
People within relationships get manipulated easily.
Yeah.
Usually the other person is insecure.
Mm-hmm.
They're super insecure about themselves, and they capitalize on it. I'm sure that's how pimps and hoes are made.
Yeah.
A pimp finds an insecure hoe, or
Yeah.
insecure woman. Sorry, we respect women. And
I mean,
turns them into sex workers.
There's hoes out there, but yeah.
Unwillingly turn them into sex workers.
Do you feel like there's a certain amount of influence in that?
Yeah. Or they don't have to go that route. Dude just wants someone to beat around the house. Be like, do this, do that, smack, or verbally abuse them. But before that, I think they have to bring them in. Maybe. I know nothing
Of the pimp game.
about the pimp game.
All I know about the pimp game is what Jay-Z tells me.
Mac Dre was a pimp, right?
I mean, yes, he was.
Allegedly.
So I came across this thing, the 6, essentially, I saw something that Nate dubbed it the 6 weapons of persuasion.
6 weapons of persuasion.
Which sounds mad intimidating, but it's really just like the basic
sounds
principle.
edgy as fuck.
While you studied at school, I studied the weapons.
Yeah.
So like, you've got this. The 6 are, God, how do you pronounce this? Reciprocity.
Yeah, reciprocity.
Yeah, so
sure.
Treat others the way you want to be treated, right?
Okay.
Or just whatever. If someone does something for you, if you do something for someone, chances are they might want to reciprocate. They might want to do something for you because you did something for them. And what I learned about this was essentially be the first one. If you want to be persuasive, you want to be the first person to offer something to someone. And chances are, most of the time, but not always, that they'll tell themselves like, oh, well, he's a pretty good guy. Like, if I were to give you $5.
I think it starts with small favors, too. Like,
yeah. There was a study.
Oh, you dropped this. Maybe that's the way to start it.
I saw one where, all right, perfect example. Restaurants, right? Mm-hmm. When the bill comes, have you ever had they leave mints, right? They leave little mints with your receipt.
Okay.
Does that make you feel like you're going to tip more?
Oh, I'm sure it does to some people.
Mm-hmm.
You might feel a certain type of way, be like, oh, what a little gift, what's another $1?
Right.
I can see how that could work.
So that's where the reciprocation comes into play. And they did this study where they tried it 3 different ways. So the first way was essentially the waitress would come over, leave a mint with the bill, and then go away. And I think it was something, again, my numbers are super vague, but it was something like a 3% increase. 3% tips went up. The same experiment, waitress brought 2 mints this time, and the tips went up a little more, maybe like 5%. The third one was 2 mints, and the waitress made it personalized, where it's just, hey, thank you very much for coming in. I hope you guys have a good day. Fucking tips went up through the fucking roof.
Just by saying thank you?
Yeah, just by giving that interaction, just by personalizing it and making the experience seem
unique.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, like you said, personal.
Yeah, incredibly
You're more
unique.
willing to help a friend, a stranger.
Yeah, so if a stranger, gives you pieces of candy, we're all children. If a waitress gives you, if a waitress is to give you pieces of candy,
help here, man.
and tells you, hey, thank you for coming in. I hope everything was okay. Have a nice day.
Okay.
It's just like, hey, that's pretty cool. She was pretty nice. Because I've said that. I'm guilty of saying, like, that was a really good host. That was a really good waitress or a really good waiter. Cool guy, cool chick, whatever. What have you. End of the day, they're getting your money.
Honestly, that happened to us. We went to a cafe earlier this morning. Dude was super chill. Chopped it up with us for like a second or two. Was there. Bill came out to like $15. Mm-hmm. Gave him a $5 tip. We both gave him a $5 tip.
Yeah.
Because we thought he was cool. Yeah. He was being super cool with us. So we're like, yeah, go ahead. All he did was take our order and bring our food.
Yeah.
And say a couple words to us. And we're like, yeah, that was enough.
Human interaction.
Yeah.
It was literally as simple as saying hi to us or asking us if we needed more time. Super simple stuff. And it goes a long way. So, again, that's the first step where it's just reciprocation.
All right, let me ask you this. Were we manipulated?
No.
You don't like to think you're right?
Right.
You don't want to think that you're being manipulated. So you kind of want to...
I want to say no.
Justify it.
I didn't tip.
You want to justify it, right?
No, but I mean, honestly, yeah. It's something soft. A soft manipulation.
You hate to see it happen, but maybe we did get manipulated. Who cares at the end? I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really care.
Yeah.
He's working the dead end ass job as a waiter.
I didn't think all that. I don't hate the guy.
Well, I mean, if you're a waiter, I don't know how many chances are there are there to move up?
That's
one way to justify it, right?
I think we're just mad that we got manipulated.
Yeah, probably.
He probably didn't even go to college.
We're just fools. We're just fools.
But that's what's really cool about not manipulation. Jesus Christ, influence, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's something super simple that you don't even think twice about. Because we've all been to restaurants and we've all had the waiters that we think are really cool, or we've gone to a place and we're like, today it was just like, this place is really cool. I like the way it feels. It's super homey, super
aesthetic,
small. Yeah,
nice.
But these are all small little cogs in the grand scheme of things. You know, on the surface, it is just going to a fucking diner and giving a guy a good tip because he was nice. But how many people do you think that they get like that, and it could add up like that? So people can reap benefits from that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a business, so obviously they got to make money, but that doesn't mean you should. It didn't feel like they primarily were focused on taking our money. It felt like they were being very hospitable, being very friendly, and we were okay with giving that extra little tip, right? Or just
as far as we think. As far as we want to believe.
It's all a sham. The cook knows.
What about this one? From the book, backtracking from the book, one of the things I take to heart is remembering everyone's names.
Right.
That's a big one for me. I've learned that I feel good when people remember my name.
Yeah.
It seems like common sense, but we tend to forget about it. We get busy. We tend to get wrapped up in our own lives that we forget to remember people's names. It's awkward when you meet a person at the party. You exchange names. Hey, my name is Izzy. What's yours? Whatever. You leave for a minute or so, come back, bump into each other later in the party, and you're like,
"Hey you."
Hey you. After having a conversation with them, getting to know them a little bit, you just forget their names. It's kind of it's a little sucks ass, honestly.
Yeah.
And I've forced myself to learn names, man. At school, especially, I work at after school program. I know every kid's name in my program. There's over like 70 of them, and I can tell you each of their names.
Really?
I swear to God.
Come on.
I can.
All 70 kids?
Trust, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Just give me 5 off the top of your head. Go.
Lincoln, Chase, Enzo, Jacoby, Haley, Holly. I got Dovey, AJ, another AJ.
Wow.
Dude, I know all of them.
That's crazy.
Yeah?
Well, I mean, do you think it's because you see them every day? Like, I feel if I meet someone, day in, day out, of course I remember their names. I'm not going to be friends with the guy for like 10 years and be like, what's up, boss? Like, how you doing, chief?
What's a prime example? The other day I went to a party with my sister. I bumped into, she works with some coworkers, and I met them back in high school. Off the bat, it's like, oh yeah, Karina. Cynthia, it's I try to force myself to learn names, man. It's not always easy. No, it's not easy. No. But it makes you feel good because they feel good.
Yeah, that's
how I see it. Obviously, sometimes they won't remember your name, but it shouldn't bother you.
No, not at all.
You should feel proud that you remember someone's name. Like, hey, what's up? So and so.
Brian, good to see you. What's going on, man?
And it leaves a good taste in their mouth. Like, hey, this guy remembered.
All right. Technical difficulties.
Just a little bit. Okay. So yeah, single moms. No. Well, let's move past that point already.
Sure.
You remember people's names. That's the one big one I remember. Actively listening.
Yes.
And it should be something you want to do. If you want to get to know someone, obviously you got to, get them talking to you. Obviously, you got to get them feel invested in you. I feel like before you got to invest in them before they invest in you.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good way to make friends. Honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah. Okay, how about this one? I thought this one was, I don't know, I was on the fence about this one. Arousing an eager want from someone. What does that sound like to you?
Sexual?
I guess, yeah.
I mean,
Arousal, yes.
my little monkey brain, when I hear arousal, I think of boners.
Boner, titties.
But trying to stimulate a want that they have, right?
Yeah, that necessarily, that isn't really something you do if you want to make friends. Arousing a need or want, that's maybe if you want to change them to your way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe in this day and age, it's there's a lot of politics on the internet and stuff. People always debating and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you want people to get on your side, right? You gotta need to know what they want, and if you're willing to compromise, you can offer them something.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah, well, I don't know. It's hard to make up examples nowadays. Everything's too.
No, man, you live in the golden age of. I mean, look, it's funny because with social media, you've got people that have the title influencers, right?
Oh yeah, that's a big one. Influencers. You got Instagram influencers.
Yeah, and what does that mean? What is an influencer in this modern era?
Half naked people showing off some type of drink,
Bang.
some protein.
By Bang.
Bang. That's a big one I've seen.
It's everywhere right now.
Yeah, like I can see what most people want to feel good. They want to be. I think people want to be healthy. I think that's something common everybody wants. Nowadays, everybody. So a big one I see on Instagram is fitness people.
Yeah.
I see that a lot coming up on my Instagram. I see a lot of people saying, if I've seen fine ass women, they work their ass off, obviously, to be fit.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems kind of shady. They're like, oh, I drink Bang,
mm-hmm.
Every workout or whatever, or XYZ protein or supplement. And people fall for it, like, hey, maybe if I take this, I'll end up like her or him. And that seems shady. It's smart because it's smart. They're selling. Obviously, you see Bang is a big one because that's what I see.
Yeah,
it's all over the place now. I go to any liquor store, I see Bang.
Yeah.
Any mom and pop shop liquor store carries it.
Drew drinks Bang now.
Yeah.
Our friend drinks Bang now.
And I don't know.
Well, the thing is, I don't think you say it sounds shady. They're promoting a healthy lifestyle. Bang's not the key to having a great body, but the way I see it with, like these Instagram models or fitness models or just like people on a social media that are promoting working out every day or their whole time feed is about getting the pump or eating healthy. They're promoting a healthy lifestyle and they're trying to get other people on the same wavelength, which isn't always bad.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at it in a negative light. Obviously, if you've got a guy that's just essentially telling you, some guy that's shredded and you're a coward if you don't lift, you should be like me. And then yeah, obviously that's negative. You don't want to be an asshole. But if you've got a guy saying, hey, if you want to be a little more fit, try these recipes that I've been looking into, or try this workout that works out pretty well for me. And you can see from there where the positivity comes in. It's like the example of the guy with complimenting his hair in the post office, right? In Carnegie's book. You don't gain anything from it particularly. Like if an Instagram...
Unless you want a friend.
Yeah, a fitness guru to tell you, hey, you should work out and stay healthy. The person that's going to reap the benefits is not him, unless you buy his merch. But I think it's more tailored for yourself, where it could be aimed at a specific... Oh, it's essentially aimed at this huge area of people that are followers. And if 20% of them change their life around because this person is an inspiration to them, then more power to them. That's awesome. That's fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah. Influence has a fine line.
Yeah.
Super fine line.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like it's applicable in many ways. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things that you can chalk up to being a form of influence. Like manipulation is a form of influencing. Advertising is a form of influencing. God, what else?
Authority.
Authority is huge with influence. Yeah. Like you've seen, I saw a couple experiments where people will obviously not listen to someone if they're not wearing some form of authoritative clothing. So they did an experiment where it was essentially this lady just tells somebody the most stupid thing, like, you can't walk on this side of the street. We're trying to keep this side of the street clear. but she's wearing regular clothes. She's like, "What are you talking about? Leave me alone." But she put on that little yellow, the vest that construction workers wear. Immediately, people are like, "Oh, okay, yeah, no, I understand." And then they just start, no questions asked. They just fold.
Oh yeah, authority's a weird one. I remember there's a study. It's a famous study because it involves ethics. It's a little unethical.
Mm-hmm.
So the project was that so the test subjects the premise it was a thing about obedience.
Right.
It went around the idea of obedience. So how it was there's two people, right? There's a doctor that comes in. He tells an unsuspecting patient, I think you've heard it. Tells an unsuspecting patient that we're doing a study on reading, right?
Milgram.
Yeah, the Milgram experiment. That's what it is. Oh, it's funny because it talks about that. So the Milgram experiment is where these patients or these volunteers, what do you call them? Participants?
Yeah, participants. Yes.
Are told that they're testing college students on their reading abilities or something like that. And they say that, if they're doing good, let them keep going. But if they mess up on one word, to shock them. And each time they mess up on a word, the shock intensifies.
Right. And
they started doing that. So, but the people that are doing the test on the other side are actors. There is no shock going to them at all. But they're supposed to act whenever they do get shocked, right?
Yeah.
So they one of the things was that the actors are told to mess up. They want to see how far people are willing to go. Mm-hmm. And some people would go the extra mile because at some point, once they reached a certain amount of voltage that they saw, the other person on the other side would just let out this blood curdling scream.
Well, the voltages would go up towards the end. It just said XXX. That's all.
Oh yeah.
It was just fucking bad news.
And just because the scientists had their lab coat on and stuff, mm-hmm. and were standing next to them, they were willing to do it. So basically, people with authority influence have very strong influences,
And this is the crazy part, where initially the higher the voltage would go, they're responsible for the pain that's on the other end. So, naturally to be like, no, I shouldn't keep doing this. And the instructors that they had with them, they gave them these 4 lines. So initially, when they thought they were hurting too much, the scientist would say, please continue.
Yeah, please continue.
And then, it keeps going up. The second one says, the experiment requires you to continue. And again, it's an authoritative figure telling you this. And you're just like, well, damn, I can't argue with that. The voltage goes up. Yeah. The third one, it is absolutely essential that you continue. And, you've got this figure of authority that's telling you this. And right before they get to the one where it's essentially, in their mind, it's lethal. The final instructions are, you have no other choice but to continue. And everyone did it. They did not argue with that.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, man.
That is wild. At one point, do you just refuse authority and say, you know what, I'm not going to do this?
And it's so simple. It was literally the most simple thing. It was a guy in a lab coat telling you, you have no choice, but you have to continue. Yeah. Physically not intimidating. He's not your boss or anything, but he's a figure of authority instructing you to do this.
And these people had no connection to them.
Nope.
They're not held. They weren't being held against their will.
No, not at all.
They weren't losing anything, but still, for some reason, they thought they were. They're like, oh, I must continue.
You're right.
Yeah.
You know what sparked off this whole experiment? After World War II ended, there was a...
Oh, about the Nazis and like...
There was a Nazi officer and, after, the Nuremberg trials, right?
Yeah.
During the Nuremberg trials, he had a very famous quote that just said, we were just following orders.
Yeah.
So that's what sparked Dr. Milgram to say, well, where do we draw the line? And how far is too far? And is it something as simple as just following orders? Yeah. Like if somebody tells you to do something for your country, how far do you take it? And with the Milgram experiment, it shed a lot of interesting light on the way humans perceive authority. We're just like, whoa, like this is mind-boggling because, again, hindsight's 20/20. So after this experiment, it's obvious to say, like, I wouldn't do that. I'm no coward. Like, I wouldn't. This is a geek in a lab coat telling me what to do. I'll beat his ass. Like, no, it's majority of the time it's not the case. You usually follow authority. There's another one. I don't remember the name of this one, but It's a group of 6, I believe. 5 are actors. 1 is an actual participant.
Okay.
So there's 3 lines on a graph, and there's a picture for comparison of another line. You're supposed to match the identical line with the ones on the graph. So at first, they all start giving the right answers, but I think of the 4th or 5th try, all the actors start saying the one that's clearly not the choice. They'll choose like the shortest line, and the one for comparison is like this big, and they'll say 1, 1, 1, 1. And at first, it was interesting because the guy that's not an actor, initially, he was like, what are you guys talking about? Like, it's this number, it's this number. But I think the 3rd time around, even though he knew he was given the wrong answer, he just started agreeing with the group. Even though it was like clear, the evidence was there. It's so clear to see that these lines are not even close to, they're not even close to identical. But it's because of the group, it's because of the peer pressure, essentially, that he's like, well, maybe they know something I don't. Yeah. And wild. It's so simple, but it's so interesting.
I see another one where it's another experiment. There's one actor. People lining up for an interview, right? And the first person in line is an actor. There's a row of chairs, right? You tell the actor to stand up the whole time. He said, all right, you're going to be the first one here, and I need you to stand up the whole time, all right? He's like, all right, you got it. But the rest of the participants, they're unaware. They're just thinking they're going for an interview. They show up. First guy shows up, and he sees another person, the actor, standing up. Even though there's a chair right there, he's still standing up. Yeah. So he's like, he's kind of weirded out. So he doesn't think anything of it. He goes up and he sits down. They wait like 10 minutes, and then he starts, I don't know, something comes out of him, and he's like, I don't know, maybe I should stand up. So he stands up. He stands up because he sees that this guy's been standing up even though he's been sitting down the whole time. Yeah. And the guy's doesn't say a word to him. He's like, oh, I'm just standing up. And that's all he gives.
No context.
Yeah, no context. So he decides to stand up. The experiment continues. 5 other people show. One person shows up, sees that 2 people are standing up, and decides to stand up with them. And it just continues. There were some people that, they're like, okay, whatever, I'm going to sit down. So these people are standing up for 30 minutes straight. And they start asking each other, like, why are you standing up, right? This 4th person comes up, right? The actor leaves. Uh-huh. That actor leaves.
And the guy that started all this.
Yeah, he leaves. Right. And the other 3 people are
they're just still standing.
And eventually there's just there's a group of participants that are there for an interview. Yeah. And they ask each other, like, why are y'all standing up? One of the scientists comes out.
Hilarious.
He says, why are y'all standing up? And the first guy says, well, the guy in front of you was standing up. And then that's what goes the whole way down.
It's fucking hilarious. From obviously, like, in the correct settings, you can mold an experiment to see like the results, but hearing this and not being a part of it, it's like, you guys are idiots. Why are you standing up? But I feel like in the situation, you'd be like, well, why shouldn't I be standing up? When you ask yourself, why shouldn't I be standing up? It's funny the way the brain tricks you, where it's just like, well, the majority is doing this. Why won't I do it?
You know how to fit in, yeah. That's another form of influence, mm-hmm. The group mentality, mm-hmm. mind thing, or what is it?
Mob mentality.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I don't know if mob mentality is only for.
It's funny how we divulge from the book, because the book is just about how to win friends and influence people.
No, it's like you said, you can use a hammer for whatever you want to use it for, right?
True. That's wild.
Yeah,
That's
man.
Wild, man.
Great read. I definitely want to borrow it. I want to read more into it.
Yeah, man.
Fantastic book.
See how many ways you can use this book. There's like the personal level, making friendships. Yeah. There's also the bigger level, business wise. Here's a popular one. Cigarettes. Cigarettes was a failing thing at one point. Mm. And this is some famous or now infamous dude that made it popular. So cigarettes were dying, right? Because it was for a big part of it. I think the date's like 1940s, 1950s. Sure. Back then, when women's suffrage was starting up, right? Okay. This guy decided to push cigarettes towards women, because smoking cigarettes was a man thing back in the day. Like, mostly men did it, and women were kind of like shunned to not do it. Yeah. So this guy decided, like, I don't know what came across his mind, but he said, you know what, we should market this to women. And how he did it was, he since women's suffrage was a thing, and it was a lot about being independent and stuff like that. This guy paid women actors to join one of their what is it, demonstrations, walks,
rally.
Sure, yeah.
Sure.
He hired a group of women, told them to smoke cigarettes, and just for some reason, no context, just a group of women smoking cigarettes, joining a rally. Other women in that group were like, "Hey,
I want to smoke."
Yeah, I want to smoke because it's a sign of rebellion. Basically, they wanted to rebel. This guy knew they wanted to rebel,
right?
And he's like, you know what? Let's make some money out of this.
Yeah.
Let's push some cigarette sales, and eventually it caught on. Someone he paid a news reporter to make an article about it. Mm-hmm. Oh, women are changing the scene or some shit. They're breaking rules, smoking cigarettes.
They're non-conforming.
They're non-conforming. They're showing rebellion, and it popped off. Eventually, they didn't call them cigarettes anymore. They call them freedom sticks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
For a second, they were called freedom sticks.
Jesus
and
Christ.
Sales just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
It's just that's
hilarious.
He aroused an eager want.
Right.
He knew, why they're rallying. They want independence. They want to vote X, Y, and Z, right? And like we can capitalize on this.
Yeah.
Let's market them cigarettes. Let's make it a symbol of rebellion, of being independent.
The irony is, it starts off like that, but then when enough people start doing it, it starts off with the nonconformist mentality, but then everybody wants to be an individual. So when everybody starts doing it, the irony presents itself where now you've conformed.
Yeah.
Like it's a vicious circle where it's just like, I want to be different. That guy's different. I want to be different. And it's just a domino effect. Now nobody's fucking different. Everybody's the same idiot.
In that way, that's what mainstream is.
Yeah.
Popular culture and stuff like that. Popular culture starts from people doing things outside of the norm.
Right.
At one point, let's think about today. Well, hold on. What time? How much time do we have? How long have we been recording?
24 minutes left.
24 minutes. Before what? An hour?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should stop.
Yeah. You want to stop? Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna stop. But I think next time we should talk about what mainstream is.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds fun to me.
How popular culture is formed.
Yes.
I think that's a good topic.
Pop culture sounds fun.
Yeah, I think we talked enough about influence. We'll probably maybe go back to it, re-up more on our information.
Yeah.
All right.
I think this is pretty good. Influence, super interesting thing, so broad, applicable in so many different ways. You can trace it to religion, you can trace it to business, you can trace it to friendships, you can trace it to everything. It used however you want, used with discretion. But with that being said, I'm Chris.
Izzy.
And
what a weird way to say goodbye.
The most meek Izzy.
Yeah.
Well, we'll pick up on this next time.
All right. Later, y'all.